and lighting pine cones and throwing them down and the wolves are all going crazy. This is how ridiculous this situation was, really. Like, it was really hard to process all the drama that was going on because it wasn't going on. It was just, you had to imagine it. And then I went, Peter, 1 second. What is this thing? It's a giant wolf? And he said, yeah, it's like a wag. That's what we call it. It's a big, and I said, where's its head? And he said, oh, it's way out here. It's like a big animal, you know, like its tail's all the way over there and its head's over here. And I said, how many times am I going to ride this animal, like in the movie? And he said, oh, and I meant all 3 movies. Like, and he said, oh yeah, in all 3 movies, yeah, you're going to be on it quite a bit. And I said, okay. Oh, Peter, do I have a relationship with it? And he said, well, and it was funny because he came out and he doesn't wear any shoes. He's like a hobbit, and he sort of came out from behind the thing and he went, what? And I said, well, you know, like, if I'm going to ride it, am I like, is it like the Lone Ranger? Like the Lone Ranger has silver and he whistles and it comes, or whatever, like, you know. And he said, well, you know, and I said, well, what about, like, maybe Azog, when he wanted his wag, he went along to where you see a litter of wags, and he went like, oh, a white one. Because I'm like the albino orc, right? So I'm the white orc. Maybe he saw a white puppy in the litter, and maybe he went like, oh, I like that one. And then I raised this puppy wag into a giant ferocious wag. And when I deliver this line, you know, can you smell the fear? Because on the page it was written that I look around at the other orcs like a big evil orc and go, good and easy, good and nice. Instead of delivering it to the orcs, like my hand has been cut off, hasn't it? I've got like this big pitchfork thing on my wrist. Like, can I scratch the back of its neck? Like with the pitchfork? Because if I deliver to the wag the line, can you smell the fear? It means I'm going to feed it. Yeah. But also it creates intimacy. Have a look at the scene. It all of a sudden goes really quiet, and it's like it goes, instead of going like, it goes, and it just really brought it down to a certain level. And I honestly think it's my proudest moment as an actor, because there were so many complex things going on, and yet I kind of like, I really wanted to instill in Azog, not the idea that he thought he was evil and going ha 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 ha. I really wanted him to be like, well, the night before, to be honest, Peter Jackson gave me 3 days notice to go down and shoot this role. And at the time I was in the middle of Spartacus, and I didn't really have the headspace to prepare for something as complex. And he doesn't email the scripts. Like, he doesn't want anybody hacking and getting a script and releasing it, which I think happened with Avatar. So I didn't get the script until I arrived at the hotel the night before I was going in there to do Azog. And Azog was like a Germanic language. It was like learning this. It was like trying to, now imagine trying to act with nothing around you, trying to do the language and all those layers. It made it so difficult, really. But the night beforehand, I got out on video, I got out on DVD, The Empire Strikes Back and Jaws. And I based Azog on James Earl Jones's voice and a white pointer, a white shark. I'd seen an image of him, and in watching Jaws, I actually sort of found this kind of whole idea about how to move as Azog. I made the decision that he looked so scary that if you saw him up front like this, immediately you've sold the, the best thing about Jaws was that, you'd hear the music. And you still only see the fin, and it'd be and up would come the shark. So on the very first scene that I did with Peter, the very first scene was up in the castle. These two small orcs walk up and they're like, "Master, they got away." Can I have somebody come up? Do you mind coming up here for a second? Just stay there. So this was kind of like the height ratio thing for Azog over this small orc, because he was huge. And I said to Peter, can I start this scene so that you can't see Azog? And again, Peter was like, what do you mean? And I said, well, I watched Jaws last night, and I'd like to, I don't want to show them who he is at this point. I just want to hide him a bit and sort of lurk and make my way toward this guy like a shark. And Peter was like, okay, let's give it a go. So you'll know that in the first scene that you ever see of Azog, he's standing like this on top of this thing, and can you say the words, "Master, they got away"?
This is your moment.
Master, they got away.
Dun 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 dun. And I said, Peter, can I have the warg down here so I can pat it so nobody sees my face yet? And Peter was like, we'll have to pay millions of dollars in CGI to put the warg there, but okay. So when you watch the scene, you'll see there's a warg sitting on the stairs, and I go down and I pat it. It's my warg. And I still let him with my face up. I don't remember the other lines, so I'm going to just repeat the lines that I'm going to say this time as well. And I walked forward and I went, I thought this is going to be terrifying if it looks like he's like patting the head of a child. Like everybody's thinking like, oh, he's so soft and caressing this little guy's head, right? And then I went, and I threw this little orc flying into the wolves, and they ripped him to pieces. And it became a dramatic scene right at the end, like Jaws. Thanks, man. But, it's always, it's fun as an actor to play with the tempo of a scene, to try to work out ways to because it's going through you've only got a little triangle to work with, and you're trying to get a certain energy across. And sometimes I think, because I did some dance training earlier before I did music before I did acting, that, sometimes I think there's a way to understand the signal. Because sometimes the words are, well, probably most all the time, the words are really nothing. You can say things a million different ways, but you can only feel it one way, and you've got to commit to that feeling. So it was kind of like giving Azog this other tone, so that when the audience felt him, he just wasn't always like, I'm the bad guy. I took every moment I could to sort of make him proud of himself, make him subtle, make him fearless, and then get there and go like, like a shark, like just come in and go like, this is what I do naturally, It was an interesting process.